Or if they get caught up in the trade winds, in the jet stream, they're going to bullseye right over to the Aleutians of Alaska, scrape Alaska. They'll cross Canada, and the full brunt of it most likely will cross the United States of America, starting on the west coast, Washington, Oregon, California. As that radiation cloud crosses over the land of America, and as it rains down upon the land of America, this is what's going to happen, folks. The crops of America, the grass, the vegetation, any living thing that it rains on is going to be contaminated. So here's something to be thinking about right now, folks. Not to just be listening and forgetting about. Folks, this piece of information that I'm about to tell you needs to have a huge adjustment in your budget for the possibility to deal with. And that is this. If it rains on the crops of America, the crops will be useless. They'll be poisoned. They will not be able to be harvested. You won't be able to eat them. That means the citrus, the trees, the almonds, the olives in California. And as that radiation cloud continues to move east, it's going to cross into the breadbasket of America. Kansas, Iowa, Indiana, Wisconsin. And if it rains on the breadbasket, the wheat, the grains, they're going to be contaminated, folks. All the hay and alfalfa that the cattle industry needs to feed on will be useless. Or if the cows do eat the hay and the grass, it's going to be contaminated. So that contamination will end up in the cow's milk. If farmers are not vigilant, if some slip through, that milk's going to be put into containers and shipped off to Safeway, and then the 5-year-olds of America are going to pour that milk into a bowl and mix it with their Captain Crunch and eat radiation. Folks, I know that sounds scary, but this is reality right here. Will the FDA be on top of that? Now, some people might say, well, it's so minute, it's just like getting an X-ray in that one dose, so don't worry about it. Well, is that per glass of milk an X-ray? Is that what that means? Or does it mean per gallon of milk it's an X-ray? Or does it mean per teaspoon? Already I have seen the news whitewash the contamination levels, because what I've seen in Japan, the levels are very, very high, folks. They're deadly. The workers can only be around the pools of the overheating fuel rods for 16 seconds before fatal radiation gets to them. 16 seconds. The isotopes are that hot now. So getting back to the food. This happens to the food. What are you going to do? What are you going to drink? What are you going to put in your Raisin Bran? Think about it, folks. So vigilance is what we need to have. We need to be knowledgeable. We need to be praying and asking God for wisdom. Can God protect you from the radiation? Of course He can. What if an individual says, I'm just going to trust God, I'm not going to worry about it, and I'll just bless this food and eat it, but their spiritual life is a train wreck. It's full of lust and pride and the sins of the flesh, and they're immersed in their darkness and their secrets, but they believe that everything's fine, so they just bless their food. Well, God may protect them, or He may not. But you know what, folks? Do you want to take that chance to roll a spiritual dice and assume that all is well? Folks, I'm throwing out some thought-provoking information, but you need to think about these things. We all need to think about them. My friends, I have been thinking about these very things a lot over the past week. I've been doing a lot of examining of all the facts. I've been doing a lot of praying. I've been doing a lot of seeking. I'm doing my part, folks, but I'm presenting this information right now to hopefully get you to think. So, again, what happens, folks, if the health of our crops of America are affected with radiation? Can you imagine that, folks? Farms of America have crops, but we have famine in the land because we can't eat it. How ironic. This is the challenge that I want to throw to all of you. And really, really consider this. If in the next few days one of those reactors explodes and the core of those reactors and all its contents is thrown into the air, into the atmosphere, that is going to be taking this situation to the highest alert level. Folks, we're talking everything's going to change. And it could very well be that the American crops can be contaminated. So I want to throw this out right now as a challenge. If we hear that one of the reactors explodes, I would very strongly recommend, challenge, and admonish every one of you that are listening to get into your car and go to the store and buy food to sustain you for as long as possible, because a lot of food might not be available. Get yourself several months of dried milk. Get yourself frozen food, even boxed food. It doesn't matter what it is, but get yourself some food, folks. In addition to that, the radiation is expected to come down on the ground as rain. So depending on how airtight your house is, if we hear that one of the reactors explodes, it would be very wise if you get drafts in your windows, in your doors. Those all have to be covered up. And get some poly plastic that's at least 6 mil. Not the thin stuff that tears easy. Get the thick plastic and get duct tape and line your windows with this duct tape and plastic so that none of the drafts can come in. I know this sounds radical and crazy, but this is where we're at right now. Also get extra water. There's a good chance that tap water sources could be contaminated. I also advise you to go to websites. Google what to do in the event of radiation. I believe there's one website that has a few articles of advice. It's called KI, the letter K and the letter I, and then the number 4, and then the letter U. So it's ki4u.com. That website sells potassium iodide pills. Unfortunately, they are sold out. They had 6 million vials, and they're all gone now. There is a run on potassium right now. Also, find out the alternative sources of places you can get iodine. Now, on my Survive to Thrive show, I had Darren Craddock, who's a nutritional expert, share some of the alternative ways to get iodine in your body. And if you want to hear the details of that, you can go to my website at watchmanscry.com, go to the audio page, and then go to the Survive to Thrive link, and that program is up there. I believe it was the March 15th program, and you can listen to that. So, folks, right now, we can't afford to be taking this thing lightly. The most susceptible to radiation poisoning are going to be the young, the very, very young, and the elderly, because their immune systems will be overrun with the radiation in their thyroids. So, right now, my friends, please take this matter seriously. Also, I want to say this. Ask your doctor if it's okay, in case some of you might have an allergy to iodine. And if you do have an allergy to iodine, most likely you already know it because you're allergic to fish or shellfish. If you're on a synthroid drug, be aware that you cannot take an iodine supplement. Now, folks, I do not want to see that radiation cloud come here. I do not. And I have been praying hard that it will not happen. However, I'm not in charge. None of us are in charge. And just because we don't want it to happen does not mean that it will not happen. One of the strikes that we have against us as citizens of the land, as residents of America, if you happen to abide here, is that America is under judgment right now. And God could indeed use the event in Japan with the radiation cloud to judge America. He could do it, folks. So I would love to see the probability not exist, but right now we are in an improbable time. And right now, anything can happen. That's what this program and this ministry is about. The watchman's cry, crying out. Folks, it is approaching the land. So therefore, my friends, during this season of judgment, we are going to see images of deterioration over America and over other villages, over other countries. Folks, it seems one by one, God is judging nation after nation. Australia, Queensland had massive flooding, record-breaking flooding. They had storms, they had fires, they had droughts. And then New Zealand, Christchurch, was shaken. And now we have Japan being shaken. Last year there were other nations that were shaken. Folks, this season is upon us now. So where's the next place? Which country's next? My friends, again, right now, anything is possible. I believe that there's going to be devastating earthquakes. More of them. Has the ring of fire been kindled? I don't know, folks. Could it happen in the Midwest of America? The new Madrid Fault? Is that going to go? What about Yellowstone? What about Alaska? Folks, it could be anywhere. And I hope that if you are a person that is intimate with God, He will warn you and prepare you to get ready or even to possibly relocate, because some things may be in store for your area. Folks, that's the time zone that we're in right now. The transmission between you and God needs to be trouble-free, no interruption. And that's what the judgment's about, folks. God judges His church. He purges His church. He chastises His church so that we can get rid of the areas of our lives that really do not need to be there. And He does it with mercy to give us a chance. And then He turns up the heat. The Bible says He's going to do that. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken, so that the things that cannot be shaken will remain. It's going to happen.